Hello friends, I welcome you all to Nandip Academy for UPSC and MPSC. In this online session, we are going to study the Hindu editorial dated 20th January 2021. We'll begin with the first article, which is titled In Bad Faith. This is an article that focuses on the protesting farmers group for repealing the three farm laws and the role of the center towards this agitation, towards this protest. So let's begin with the vocabulary. The first word that we need to focus on is intimidation. It is a noun which means the action of frightening someone. The second word is sedition, which is again a noun which means the conduct or speech of inciting people to rebel against the authority. The third word is insinuation, which is a noun which means an unpleasant hint or suggestion of something bad. The next word is proffer, which is a verb which means to hold out or put forward to someone for acceptance. The next word is harnessing, which is a verb which means control or make use of. So that is about the vocabulary. Let's move on and read the article. State intimidation of protesting groups cannot serve as a substitute for political dialogue. The farmers want a political dialogue with the center so as to repeal the farm laws and bring a way out. The state, on the other hand, is using intimidation techniques or tactics so as to not bend to repealing the farm laws. The National Investigation Agency's decision to summon people who have been associated with the ongoing farmers' agitation as witness in a sedition case is definitely out of the ordinary, even if not entirely surprising. So, this action of the NIA of summoning those people or calling those people as a witness in a sedition case, it is, although it is expected of this government, and it is not surprising. Punjabi actor Deep Sidhu and farmers leader Baldev Singh Sirsa are among the 40 people it has summoned in connection with a fresh case registered on December 15, 2020 against Sikhs for Justice, a US-based organization that is banned by India. So we need to understand that 40 people have been called as a witness in a case that has been registered against these people on December 15, 2020. And this case has been registered against the Sikhs for Justice. Now, Sikhs for Justice is basically a US-based secessionist group that supports the secession of Punjab from India as Khalistan. So this is a group which is propagating for creation of Khalistan, and it is in this connection, it is in connection with this Khalistan creation that these 40 people have been called as a witness. Others summoned include functionaries of the Khalsa Aid, which is a Sikh charity that provided material support to agitating farmers, and those who organized a community kitchen for them. So basically, in both these cases, what is common is the government is actually roping, the government is witnessing, trying to weaken this farmers' protest, and calling the main leaders or calling the supporting groups, all those people who have been supporting the farmers' agitation, in some or the other way, the government is trying to weaken this farmers' movement. The insinuation of the NIA in the very act of summoning them as witness follows statements by the BJP leaders that link the agitation to Khalistani separatism. So this is another allegation that has been put against the farmers' protest, that the farmers' protest is linked to on the face of it, it may look as if the farmers are agitating against the farm laws, but the NIA has said that this farmers' agitation is also linked to Khalistani separatism, that is, creation of a separate state of Khalistan. Law officers of the government told the Supreme Court last week that anti-national forces that had infiltrated the protest were misleading the farmers. This portrayal of critics of a government policy as either misled and ignorant or anti-national actors forecloses all possibility of any honest dialogue with them. The government is basically trying to keep away the main matter and focus on other non-important matters, and the government is actually misleading, we would say, the public. by turning the focus away from the farm laws and focusing on the Khalistan creation, which is not at all relevant. That may not be an unintended outcome for a government that has never been enthusiastic about consultative process. In this instance, the government and the court prefer dialogue with protesters while agencies employ intimidatory measures against them. So, although the government and the court prefer a dialogue, or they, on the face of it, they are looking forward for a dialogue with the farmers who are protesting, but the agencies like the NIA, which are roped in by the center, they are actually using wrong techniques against them, or they are involving them in wrong cases. Efforts to undermine the legitimacy of a political actors opposed to the government have acquired a predictable pattern. So uh, political actors, or any group, or any person who is against the government or is against the government policy, is actually punished through a wrong way. Its critics are routinely labeled anti national by social media trolls and functionaries of the ruling BJP. So anybody who does not fall in line with the government policies are usually labeled as anti-national, and even the social media trolls them, and even the functionaries of the BJP label them anti-national. Investigations follow often by central agencies like the NIA and the Enforcement Directorate. So all the agencies that are under the central government's control are often employed for labeling these people as anti-national. The state responses to agitators in Kashmir, Bhima Koregaon, and during the protests against the Citizenship Amendment Act have been heavy handed. So, to cite a few examples where the center has actually labeled those who are against the central laws as anti-national, is in the example of the agitation that took place in Kashmir, or the Bhima Koregaon protests, or even against the people who were against the Citizenship Amendment Act. That probably is the message that the government wants to convey to all the dissenters, current and prospective. It will not feel restrained by principles of federalism or democratic norms in putting down protests. So the government will employ any means, or the government will employ all it can, and employ all the central agencies which are at its control, at its disposal, to label those political people who are against the central government policies. The NIA's move cannot be seen delinked from this broader context, and the NIA's behavior, or the NIA's action of calling certain people who are actually helping with the farmers' protest as a witness for a case that was registered on December 15th, is in the same process. Sikhs abroad are a vibrant segment of the diaspora, having links with the motherland, including through donations to religious and charity activities. So, Sikhs actually play a very important role, you can say, in the development of India. Other diaspora groups also support activities including in the field of education and health. The Narendra Modi government has a policy of harnessing the strength of Indian diaspora everywhere for national progress. So it can also be concluded, or it wouldn't be wrong to say that the national progress and important sectors such as education and health are somewhere successful because of the financial commitments by the diaspora. There has to be a high threshold to consider any such community activity as anti national, and no consideration of religion must influence that assessment. If the government is labeling any community, a particular community, as anti national, or its activity as anti national, there has to be a proper proof for that. The NIA's instant move has been condemned as intimidation, among others, by the Akali Dal, until recently a BJP ally. The NIA's action can definitely be condemned as intimidation, if nothing else. A strong arm tactics may be unavoidable when there is an immediate threat of violence, but replacing political dialogue with state intimidation is never strategically prudent. So, what is needed, what is the need of the hour, is political dialogue and not intimidation, or not calling the supporters of the farmers' protest as witness. The government must talk to the farmers in good faith. So, establishing a good faith with the farmers, understanding their problems, trying to reach out to a conclusion through discussion and dialogue is the need of the hour, rather than intimidation or calling the supporters of the farmers' protest and actually putting allegations against them in various cases. That is not required. Let's move on to the second article. The second article is about India's win in Australia in the Test series that is being played. Let's begin with the vocabulary. Folklore is the first word. Let's begin with the vocabulary. The first word here is folklore. Folklore is actually stories, or we can say they are things which are told from one generation to another by word of mouth. Luminous. Luminous is an adjective which means giving light. Debilitating is an adjective which means making someone weak or infirm. Rookies is the next word, which is a noun which means a new recruit. And stupendous is an adjective which means extremely impressive. So, here we are going to talk about the win of the Indian team against the strong Australian team. Top of the heap. Series win in Australia came in difficult circumstances and will be a stuff of folklore. So this win is going to be told for many generations together by a word of mouth. On a magical Tuesday, India's cricketing history gained a luminous chapter even as the shadows lengthened at Brisbane's Gabba. When Rishabh Pant's winning four aptly concluded a tense pursuit of 328, on a nerve-wracking fifth day of the fourth test, Ajinkya Rahane's men seized the series at 2-1 to retain the Border Gavaskar Trophy. So we are actually talking about the Border Gavaskar Trophy, which is a test series played between India and Australia. The Border Gavaskar Trophy is currently played via International Cricket Council's tour program, and it is named after the Australian Alan Border and Sunil Gavaskar. These were the first two cricketers who have scored over 1,000 runs in the Test series, and therefore it's called as the Border Gavaskar Trophy. Now, India and Australia are playing for the Border Gavaskar Trophy, and India had toured Australia in the month of November for playing this series. India has won the series by 2-1 and has also been is a recipient of the Border Gavaskar Trophy. This win has not been easy for India and for the present captain Ajinkya Rahane. As far as roles reversal go, this was a stunning in its execution and jaw-dropping in its impact. It was a verdict that seemed improbable after India's 36, its lowest ever Test score during the debilitating loss in the first game at Adelaide. But India progressed despite losing personal injuries or personal reasons. So, as you're all aware, that Virat Kohli is on a paternity leave, and who has been the captain of India and who's also giving a very good performance. He is not playing in the present team. Although we do not have such players, in spite of that, India has given an impressive performance. Skipper Virat Kohli took paternity leave, while other regulars had to be benched following a spate of injuries. So other good players also were not a part of this team. Yet Rahane's men persevered right from the established Cheteshwar Pujara and R. Ashwin to the latest rookies in the squad, that is Shubham Gill and Washington Sundar. So all those the regulars, the people who are on who India banks for winning any match, those were not there. In spite of that, the newcomers, whether it was Cheteshwar Pujara, R. Ashwin, or Shubham Gill and Washington Sundar, have all come together to for contributing to this win. At various points, the experienced professional and fresh debutant joined forces and nourished miraculous dreams. The turnaround at Melbourne was followed by this stonewalling at Sydney. Finally, in a long tour that commenced on November 12th last year, a second wind was found in the climax. India did not have any of its frontline bowlers at Brisbane, but Mohammad Siraj astutely helmed the attack, and Tim Paine's men were defeated by 3 wickets. So we also have to talk about the contribution of the bowler Mohammad Siraj, who actually brought the defeat for the Australian um, batsmen. Winning a test series against Australia in its backyard is considered as cricket's highest benchmark for excellence, and India has achieved this. It is actually a great feat for India to defeat Australia in its own home ground. This yardstick has lasted for 2 decades ever since the previous dominant outfit, the West Indies, suffered a decline. Since in this that context, what India has achieved over the course of two tours in 2018-19 and its just concluded 2021 face-off is nothing short of stupendous. India has definitely given a very impressive performance in both the tours of 18-19 and 2021. Twice India has defeated Australia by identical margins 2-1. However, the latest act will rank right up in an all time list of great series ever won since the sport's longest format commenced at Melbourne in 1877. When India last toured Australia, the host was blighted by the ball tampering scandal, and Steve Smith and David Warner were rightly put to pasture. So, when we talk about the last time India had gone to Australia for winning for the competition, we can it was not a conclusive tour because of the ball tampering allegations that were put against Steve Smith and David Warner. Cut to the present, the visitor was up against a full strength home unit. So the Australians, they have come back with full strength and with full unity, and our team, in spite of not having its regular players, have been able to defeat them. These are fraught times due to the pandemic and resultant biobubble angst, and even stepping out for a coffee is deemed an offense. So, as all of you are aware of the cricket bio bubble, wherein the cricketers are actually permitted to stay in a hotel, and they are not for any reasons permitted to leave the hotel, even if it is for a cup of coffee. And even the pandemic has actually added to the woes of the cricketers. To make it worse, India was never at its optimum potential, and with every passing day, its list of the walking wounded grew. So we can say that because some of its regulars and even the captain was not present for this series, and India was not at its optimum potential. In spite of these factors, India has actually witnessed a win against Australia. There were even wry jokes about how coach Ravi Shastri may be forced to turn out considering his diminishing resources. But India thrived, and just like it did at Eden Gardens in 2001, adversity became its springboard for success against an old adversary. It is not easy to defeat Australia in its home ground. Moreover, when the Australian team has actually come back with full strength and being all aware of its home ground, India has been able to, although India was not at its optimum potential, it has been able to defeat Australia and score a 2-1 over it. That is all for today's editorial. See you in the next session with a new analysis of the new editorial. Thank you.